today's video, we're going to be talking about how to do your tee work correctly and how to place the ball on the tee. Now, I've seen a lot of coaches, they like to place it like this, and that works perfectly fine. But today we're going to be going over the way that I think is most effective, especially with younger hitters and even with advanced hitters, on how to properly work on the tee and how to properly place your baseball on the tee so that way you can create backspin. So you basically want to place it like this, and what this is going to do, it's going to show you this bottom seam when you're looking at the baseball, so that way you can work on creating backspin when you're hitting it off the tee. Now, what this is going to do is going to help you with your approach. It's going to help you focus on creating backspin, and it's going to give you an objective and approach when you're actually swinging off the tee. Now, if you're working middle here, you can see that this bottom seam here is going to be facing you, and that way you're able to see it as we swing, and make sure that we keep our eyes on that bottom seam as we swing. What it's going to do is, if we hit that bottom seam, we're going to instantly create backspin and the ball is going to travel further. Now, if the tee is outside, let's say we're a right-handed hitter, the tee is outside, we can still see it here, and we're still going to work on that bottom seam to create backspin oppo way. Same thing with an inside placement of the tee. When we hit on the tee, it's not about just swinging. It's about making sure that we have an approach when we're actually swinging off the tee. So our goal here is to be able to bring that barrel to that bottom seam, make sure that we follow through our swing to be able to create as much backspin as possible. What I have noticed is a lot of people just kind of place the ball there, or if they place it with the two seams there and they really don't know their approach. I think this is effective if it's done correctly, but from what I've done and from what I've taught and with all the hitters that I have worked with, this has been the most effective way to really work and seeing the backspin on the baseball, because you could see the four seams spinning as you swing, as the ball flies. It gives you a better look when you actually swing. When we go to swing, we really want to focus on staying behind the barrel. So basically, when we swing, we want to see the barrel make contact with that baseball, and it's something that happens very fast, so we have to make sure that we're creating a good muscle memory when we're actually swinging off the tee, making sure that we're following that barrel all the way through, keeping our head behind it. I've noticed a lot of hitters kind of just swing and they watch the ball fly. In a cage, you can't really see where the ball is going, so we really don't want to focus on seeing the ball fly. We really want to focus on keeping our head on the baseball as we swing through the baseball. So what this does is it gives you that better view of when you make contact, when you find the barrel, and when you follow through, to be able to see the spin on the baseball when it flies. Obviously, in a cage, you don't really see where it's actually going. You can kind of see if it's a pop-up, a line drive, or a ground ball. So making sure that we're focusing on just middle, working middle as we swing. And our whole goal is to keep our body nice and balanced, making sure that our chest is over the plate in a sense. I don't want you hunched over, but basically our chest is looking towards the plate and making sure we're staying closed in for as long as possible throughout our swing. Because if my chest opens up, then that means my head has a higher opportunity to open up, and we want to avoid that as much as possible when we're hitting off the tee. We want to be able to stay behind, stay closed, and then once we swing, we can allow our chest to open up as we swing. A lot of hitters tend to really open up a lot when they're hitting off a tee, and they're not really working on staying behind the baseball, staying closed in. Another thing is, with your front foot, make sure that when you load, especially when you're working on tee work, make sure that we're just taking our steps, still closed in, our body's still nice and balanced here, and we're still closed, and then you're gonna let your body open up for you after we follow through in our swing. It's a huge thing that a lot of hitters do struggle with, so we wanna make sure that we really apply that when we're working on tee work. Another good thing is, if you want to just, before you even take a couple swings on the tee, just grab your barrel, hold it on your chest, and just work from here, bringing the barrel to the baseball, and we're just staying here, keeping our head on that baseball, focusing on that bottom seam. The more you test your brain to focus on that bottom seam, the more it's going to work to try and really hit that bottom seam and find it with the barrel. And it's not only going to help you physically, but it's also going to help your mentality at the plate to look for that bottom seam. Now, when a pitcher is throwing, obviously when he throws, you're not going to really see the bottom seam. So I don't really want you to focus on that bottom seam. Just focus on finding barrel with the baseball. Your muscle memory goes into play when you're in a game. So you're going to notice a huge difference when you're actually hitting in a game if you really focus on your tee work and your approach on the baseball. That's why I really like to focus on that bottom seam. It just seems to be more effective when we're actually in the cage and working off the tee. And whatever drills we're doing, I always place it in the same spot, and I always tell my hitters to focus on that. What that does is it helps you, and it helps your mentality when you're actually swinging. It helps you have an approach on the baseball and not just to swing, just to swing. This is something that I learned when I was very young, and it was from a Boston Red Sox player. It's something that's very minimal. It's something that's a little bit different, but it's something that's very effective when we're doing tee work. And this works with anything. So if you place it outside, if you're doing high tee, if you place it inside, whatever you're doing when you're doing tee work, it's very effective and it's very helpful for your swing when you're working on your tee. Now you got to remember that when we're doing tee work, it's all about working on things that you're struggling with and not just your swing. So if we struggle with opening up, let's work on staying closed in. Slow it down, simplify it down. You got to make sure that you keep your tee work very simple and make sure you're just working on little things. Those little things are going to eventually add up to the bigger things, and they're going to assist you when you actually go into the game facing a live arm. Just remember that we want to control our composure here, and we want to make sure that we're staying short and finding that bottom seam, trying to create as much backspin as possible here. So we're focusing, bringing that barrel quickly right to that bottom seam, staying closed in, not trying to open up as we swing, and making sure that we're focused on finding barrel with bottom seam. Remember that tee work could be very simple, but don't try to overdo it. Stay focused on that bottom seam. Make sure that you're creating backspin on the baseball and not trying to hit on the top. So if you see the baseball go down, that means we're creating topspin. If you see it take flight, then we're creating backspin. If you see it knuckle, it's not gonna fly too much. It's kind of just gonna die. Those are the differences. So when you hit, make sure you're paying attention to what's really happening after the swing, so that way you can see how effective your swing is and what you're actually doing to the baseball. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment down below on your opinions on how you set the baseball on the tee, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.